الهی تیز کن تیغ زبان را که از تیغ سخن گیرم جهان را. O God Almighty, sharpen the blade of my tongue so that I conquer the world with the sharpness of my words. Often when a refugee like me tells their story, it has two parts. It begins with how grateful they are to the host community and continues about their dangerous journey, why they had to flee. Today, I am going to share my experience of crossing border from a different perspective, because it is not only human body that travels, but also ideas, language, identity, culture, and religion. My story is a journey of words. I believe words have an enormous power to unite and divide, to inspire or cause great suffering. The battle over words forced me to leave my home country, but words and books helped me endure my journey. Here in Trondheim, I have developed a project that uses words, language, and literature to promote inclusion. My passion for words, language, and literature is rooted in my childhood, in my father's teaching. I grew up reciting a poem of a Persian philosopher from the 10th century, Nasir Khosrau, and that is how the seeds of poetry were planted in my life. At the same time, I had to watch Taliban regime that burned our books. درخت تو گر بار دانش بگیرد بزیر آوری چرخ نیل و فری را. If the tree of your existence bears the fruit of knowledge, you will have the heavens under your thumb. As a teenager, I started engaging in Afghanistan politics, writing for local newspapers in support of democracy, equal rights for women, while also advocating young people's rights, speaking up for what I believe is right. My last name, Sukhanwar, literally translates to speaker. And this, along with my passion for human rights, led me on a stage where in 2009, I spoke to 50,000 people in support of democracy and free election. We called for equal and balanced development for all of Afghanistan, as well as the inclusion of all ethnic groups at government level. However, the country remained a long way from holding free and fair elections. 8 years later, just one day after the latest election in my home country, I stand in front of all of you, once more as a speaker, once more speaking about inclusion, but this time from a different perspective. My spoken words and writing made me a target for fundamentalist group. Fearing for my life, I had to flee Afghanistan in 2013 and leave all my belongings and my loved ones behind. The only thing I could carry was my knowledge and experience, carrying a baggage of words, culture, and love for literature. Then I ended up in Norway. Here in Norway, I suddenly had a new identity, an immigrant, a refugee. My journey as an immigrant in this country, known for its human rights, democracy, and freedom, was tough to start with. My main challenge had to do, again, with words. As an asylum seeker, I needed to prove my identity in order to convince the authorities that I was in danger. But since I could not speak Norwegian, much was lost in translation. As an asylum seeker, you are forced to share your personal, often painful, frightening, or humiliating stories with strangers who often cannot and sometimes do not want to understand. So I fought for 2 years to obtain asylum, failing on my first attempt, but winning on appeal, where I represented myself in English and Norwegian, something I was unable to do at my initial hearing. Ultimately, I could express myself, and the power of words became my salvation. Learning the language was not easy, but moving into a new culture, the challenges of moving into a new culture did not stop in the asylum hearing. I wanted to share my knowledge and experience with this country and connect with the local people. That meant that I needed to learn Norwegian and improve my English. As I said, learning the language was not easy. One makes a lot of mistakes in the process. And it is up to us if we decide to allow our mistake to put up barriers between us or break them down. Listen to these two Norwegian words, bidra and bedra. Don't they sound similar? Once I wrote an email in Norwegian intending to promise that I would use my education to contribute, bidra, in society, but instead I said I would cheat society. Oops. One word that really becomes part of an immigrant identity is integration. It is a tricky concept. It is usually interpreted in a way that if you dress in your traditional clothes or eat something other than bread for lunch, in Norwegian case, then you are not considered integrated. To most, integration mainly means assimilation. Adopt a new culture and forget your own. Following the refugee crisis, many well-intended initiatives were created, but the concept of upper and lower class remains. Some programs are designed in a way that the host community demonstrates showing mercy on immigrants by talking to them or participating in a small activity. Ready-made one-size-fits-all programs do not help in terms of promoting inclusion. Wouldn't it be better to listen to new arrivals and give them the chance to share their knowledge and experience with the local community? Who knows the needs and interests of immigrants better than they do themselves? We have many countries represented in the audience today. Imagine you travel to a new country with a different culture, language, and lifestyle. Being there, think of a situation that results from an act of kindness by locals, but perceived inappropriate and uncomfortable by you. A misinformed attempt to make you feel welcome. Now you would understand how I felt when I saw a campaign on Facebook, hug a Muslim. My first thought, what have I done, or how do I appear that people assume I need a hug? Or where do they get this thought that all Muslims would like to be hugged by strangers in the first place? I do understand the struggles. It is almost impossible to form an effective program for immigrants, even those from the same backgrounds, as individuals are divided by their political beliefs, class, and religion, among other things. So how can we best welcome immigrants in their new home? Once more, the answer is to use language and literature. They are precious parts of identity that everyone shares. And here my passion for words led me to the Literature for Inclusion initiative, a platform that allows us to inspire and learn from each other while we celebrate our linguistic heritage. I designed the Literature for Inclusion in a way that it mirrors a literary map of Trondheim, a city of diverse language, prose, and poetry. The project is based on diverse texts that I read in different languages from wildly contrasting cultures. The goal for this project is to bring people together from different backgrounds, cultures, and language through literature. We chose to add some other form of art, such as music and photograph, in the project as well. Let me give you an example about the power of words to connect. Back in 2015, I had a presentation in a primary school outside Trondheim for kids in grade 5 and 6. I showed them how the Afghan kids had a lot in common with them and what they were lacked in their education system, or what Afghanistan lacked in its education system. By inviting them to experience my reality, the reality of Afghan children, through my words, descriptions, and stories. I shared with them my own childhood memories. When I was in grade 6, the Taliban took power, burned our books, and banned education for my sisters. Or when a militia group occupied our school and used it as their base. The feedback was amazing. I received more than 40 letters from those kids with their drawings and thoughts on what they have learned from the talk I gave. One little boy wrote, "Du fick mig till att tänka på rätten till att gå på skolan." You made me to think about the right to go to school. Literature for Inclusion is an idea that many organizations and professionals are collaborating with. So far, we have organized nearly 30 different events and reached thousands of people. We hosted Poetry Without Borders, a festival about feminism, creative writing course, Spanish and Eritrean Literature and Culture Week. For each festival, we held a series of events, including exhibition, concerts, workshops, film screening, poetry night, public debates, reading, as well as theater for children. The Spanish Literature and Culture Week offered its audience a literary and cultural journey of Spanish-speaking countries, a journey through words, language, and books, exploring the literary history of Zaragoza, art in Mexico, migration from Latin America. We host a workshop discussing Norwegian and Spanish expression and idioms every other month. Through words and phrases, this takes participants on a parallel journey of different dialects around Norway, in a corner of Barcelona, a cafe in Mexico, a park in Uruguay, or a garden in Colombia. One of my most vivid memories is now from the Eritrean Literature and Culture Week we hosted last month. Among many other programs, we had a poetry night where some Eritreans recited their oral poetry. and how this form of poetry have played an important role in shaping their culture and history. They have a special form of poetry that are read at wedding or mourning ceremonies. As a part of the event, we had an open mic session allowing participants to express their inspiration as well. So our program ended up with recitation of oral poetry, not just from Eritrea, but 10 other countries were represented in the audience too. We have scheduled an Arabic Literature and Culture Week next month, a week that will not only explore the language and literature, but also Arabic alphabet, making a new connection or opening a connection with 420 million people on earth who speak Arabic. The main language for our platform are Norwegian and English. When needed, we invite translators. We want everyone to have the opportunity to participate and understand. The audience is a wild mix of people from different cultures and countries represented in Trondheim and different levels of our community. Last Saturday, we hosted a reading and theater for children in Spanish. It may come as a surprise, but next to people from different countries represented in Trondheim, around 20% of our audience were Norwegian families. I believe there is a profound need for this project in our city and region due to the diversity of its citizens' background, culture, and belief, so we can learn from and value human differences. My idea is not to represent or describe the immigrant community, but to create a portal where they can express themselves in their own words rather than having others to talk on their behalf. To achieve true inclusion, I have invited all institutions and professionals who are involved in integration to collaborate. This is because integration works better if communities work together, and especially if the host community agrees to meet people of other cultures and find out more about them. In this way, we can share great gifts to each other. The very best and most noble parts of our culture can be enriching to those whose minds are open. So my objective for this project is to go beyond integration, away from be like us, towards inclusion, be yourself. I hope this project will highlight our common values, talk openly about our heritage, and go beyond labels such as immigrant, stranger, or refugee. Focus on community, mutual respect, and diversity and pluralism. سرود سبز آزادی. بیایید این جهان را نو بسازیم. پیام صلح و آبادی بیاریم. سپس با همدلی و مهربانی سرود سبز آزادی بخوانیم. The green song of freedom. Let us build this world from the beginning to deliver the message of peace and prosperity. And then, with empathy and kindness, we all sing the green song of freedom. Thank you.